Have you had to grapple with the choice of supporting your family or your future? My name is Ofensa Baloyi, better known to you guys as Primo, aka Primo 19, aka Brown 2 Man, aka Cherry A1. And today I will be your host on Youth X Conversations, an online series where we are going to tap into the power of honest conversation, diverse perspectives, and collaboration in addressing the problems faced by today's young South Africans. The youth of 1976 sacrificed literally their lives for future generations like us to have the opportunity at achieving career success. However, apartheid has had a long impact on their responsibility to support their families. Helping me unpack this really deep, pressing issue are three very important people from Nedbank. Starting with the Senior Manager of Media, Adisha Pandey. And then very silky smooth, Mr. Alwyn Smith, Head of Sponsorship and Events. And the not so young Head of Youth, John Makhato. How's you guys feeling today?
Good.
Oh, good.
Welcome to my library, guys. This is where all the magic goes down.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the stage to turn?
Encyclopedias, where I got all the information to come and ask you guys the questions that I have today. And
Riveting.
I say important because, hey, I'm the least qualified person in this room here. I just MBA, MBAs covered. we had to, and I just want to know because I had so many expectations from my family just to finish. Did you meet the expectations when you finally ended up, at your MBA at Gibbs?
So, okay, then I lost my dad before he got to see this. So I think from an academic point of view, I think even from a career point of view, I think they would have been proud. I think they would have been very proud of what I did academically, especially what I achieved even in like the results that I got academically as well. They'd be very, very proud. I'd surprise them. And I think career-wise as well, I think they'd be happy, very, very happy.
Mai, do you think you exceeded those maths and science expectations?
Maybe not the maths and science, guys, if we are honest. Because maths and science, I think I've done well, man. If I just think about the journey, there was probably like one moment where I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. And I think at that particular point, I said to my dad, I'm like, Ish, I want to go this way. But now I'm at maths and science, what must happen?
Ish.
And we actually did, what do you call this thing, an aptitude test.
Yes.
That's actually what got me into marketing. I didn't like wake up and dream.
No, that's
marketing.
exactly where you were going.
Yeah, the aptitude test. And then when I look back on myself, I was like, yeah, but I love watching ads and I'm always watching these brand campaigns and all of those things. Love sport. So based off of that, like that catalyst, I think I've done well. And I think my parents are proud.
Yeah. I think you've done well too. I mean, I've seen you at everything. Nedbank Cup games, NGC. There's nowhere where you're never there. And it also makes me feel like, okay, everybody here has an MBA. Everybody here is a senior, is a head, is, right at the top of stuff. And there's always this huge financial expectation that comes with the roles that you guys have. I mean, if I could start with you, Alwyn, do you think, actually, when was the first time that you were expected to bring money back home?
You see, you use the word expected.
It was never an expectation.
It was never, man. Like I never,
that's so cool.
and I think it's a blessing to me. Like I don't think I was ever expected to like bring money back home. But as you grow and as you get like after every promotion, or you see me at the Nedbank Cup and then you see me there, I think there's something that's almost settled in me where I'm like, hey, son, I have to start whatever I'm growing and building on the side. My family, my parents need to start reaping some of those rewards. So it's more of a me thing than a them thing, which I think is a blessing to me. But it does play continuously. So every time something major happens or you get a new opportunity, you do think like, how can I make it better at home? How can I take things back home? So yeah, definitely a me thing.
Building a black room or something.
We're not there yet, people.
That's the least to it.
Disha, do you remember the first time like you brought the money back and supported your family?
The first time I think I did contribute to the household was sometime in my late teens, early 20s, I worked immediately after school, so didn't go directly to campus. And my dad experienced sudden job loss. So at that very moment was my first opportunity to assist, within the family dynamic. But again, there was no expectation of me bringing anything to the table. So yeah, I think it's a big part of creating that stability and security for your family and making sure you can.
Yo, that is so lucky. I know I've been supporting since I was in high school. My allowance was buying bread. My allowance was definitely buying bread. Like, I wish I had the time. I mean, I only really started working and getting money for myself properly after the age of 26. So if I had to wait till after 26 to help back, that would have been nice and comfy. But yeah, no, change. 5 rand, that change, it has to go. Everything went.
There was a percentage going home.
Everything, basically everything. and John?
So how it happened for me, right, was when I got my first managerial job, and like, yeah, okay, cool, now, And I went home for the holidays, and I was at the house. I saw that there were like some tiles missing here. The kitchen cabinet was like shaky or something. Like, yeah, I don't want to surprise my dad, So I went out, looked for quotations, and then he got wind of what I was doing. He's like, "Huh? Is my house not good enough for you?" I was like, dude, isn't this what we're supposed to do? Like, you go to Joburg, get some money, come back home and do this kind of stuff. He was like, it was a really big deal. Like, he didn't like it. He was offended. And then, like you, my dad, I think he was retired already, but he had like a side gig. I think when that dried up and his health also kind of started deteriorating, I get a phone call from my aunt. This guy never sends my money back home. Ooh. I'm like, dude, like, I was trying. So I think that's when I kind of like called, just a step up. Like, he came to you when he needed you, not when he saw you trying to build a life for yourself. He gave the opportunity. But when that time came, he's like, okay, but through other people, like, okay, dude, it's time for you to now step up and supplement and do certain things. A lot of medical stuff, but yeah, so I remember.
And do you think you had to put up any financial boundaries? I mean, it's still your money too.
No. But also he wasn't excessive.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to put up boundaries with my dad. Those boundaries I had to put up with my family, other family, like my nephews and my nieces. So I come from the Eastern Cape. So when you get to Joburg, they're like, you're earning Joburg rands.
Yeah. Which are different to Eastern Cape rands, of course. Yeah. The exchange rates.
Yeah, it says, but the problem is you're also paying Joburg things,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your apartment in East London is not going to be the same as your 1-bedroom apartment in northern suburbs of Joburg.
Yeah.
You understand? So there's a tendency as well of people coming to you for even the most frivolous of things. So at a point, it was like, I don't have, But if I knew that it was something important or something not as frivolous, I'd come to the party. But those were the boundaries that I would set. No excuses, I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you were saying, a lot. You sound like you have a lot of...
Because he said the Eastern Cape. So my dad's from the Eastern Cape as well. So I grew up going back to the Eastern Cape. And funny part is when you were saying we pay Joburg things also, I'll never forget the time my cousin came to Joburg. He's like, in Joburg, you guys can't even go to a shopping center without paying for parking. Like everywhere you go, you must pay something.
Everything needs money.
And it's like, wait, what? You can't go anywhere without paying in Joburg. So that's how I was laughing a little bit. But yeah, I think similar for me again, no expectations. But one thing I have realized, and maybe it's social media as well, the more you share, the more people interpret. And you're not in control of what people interpret and assume, right? But now it does make you watch your behavior. So you go on a trip, whether it be work, personal, whatever, you start showing a certain lifestyle, which people then assume, I know this one's got it. It's good. So I've had to manage a lot of those things where because people see me doing certain stuff or going certain places and most of the time also like it's work, you know what I mean?
You're not paying. It's not you.
You know what I mean? So there's certain things where like there's a balance there. But I've had to manage a lot of that. To have to like with my chest say to someone, I don't have it. And generally because I don't have it. You may assume that I do, but in this moment I don't have it.
And then Adisha, do you think you've had any relationships spoiled by like boundaries that you've had to kind of put up?
No, I think setting boundaries is important. But that comes with open communication and transparency around your financial position. But I think there's an element of shared financial value that exists within my family, where my family understand just how important it is for me to grow from a personal point of view, but at the same time, build and strengthen the dynamic within the family. So I think the open communication has helped in terms of maintaining those solid relationships while at the same time protecting my own financial well-being. I'm the eldest of 3 siblings, so
Shout out to firstborns.
I'm deputy mom at home. But that obviously means I've got to continuously motivate and encourage my younger siblings to do better, to study a new course or, consider the new job. And they've both immigrated and live out of the country at the moment. So I'm the only one here. And that means a lot of the responsibility falls onto me, with mom and dad. And, ensuring that mom and dad have a cupboard full of groceries and the fridge is fully stocked. Because those day-to-day little things, brother and sister overseas don't really see, but at the same time help in the way in which they in whatever way they can. But really, I mean, ultimately it comes down to that shared family value
100%.
that we have, which is really solid for us.
And I mean, because you have to take care of your family, which includes your siblings, do you ever feel like you have to correct your mentality in the idea of supporting family in the sense that sometimes it might feel like a burden instead of the honor, that comes with being the head,
It is a complex emotional experience, I think. On the one hand, you're trying to fulfill, the duty of uplifting your family, and on the other hand, there's your personal growth that you need to take care of. So something like saving towards buying a house or buying the car you want to drive. Or I recently got married, so I had to save lots of money for that, So these are really big events in your life that you've got to plan towards. So it's about finding the balance between these two things, understanding and sort of preempting just what your family needs and ensuring that you can come to the party with those things that you genuinely can see that your family require, and at the same time ensuring your happiness and that you are comfortable.
Do you think you also have to kind of change your mentality and keep doctoring your mentality in terms of, the more of a responsibility it becomes to take care of your family versus how much you want to grow your own personal life?
Yeah. You know where I currently am, Primo, is I'm thinking about the journey, like where I am right now, but I'm also thinking about the journey. So like my mom is recently retired. My dad could retire any day soon. So the past has been okay because they had like that steady income, but I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So that's already sitting in the back of my head, that what am I doing right now to ensure that my family is good?
And that you good too, while
You know what I mean?
things
That
happen,
that balance between the two. And then when it comes to so outside of my parents and immediate family, the mentality that I'm currently doctoring is like taking on the burden. Sometimes I feel like I take on burdens and I question is this mine actually? Is this on my bag? Is this one supposed to be on my shoulders?
Even at work.
So that's something I'm continuously sitting with. And you think about it top line, it's so easy to sit here and talk about, is it my burden? But then when the situation happens, then when something happens and you're like, but I actually have to step into this gap because if not me, then who? You know what I mean? So those are the situations that I'm currently doctoring in my mind to see what the
How you feel about it and how you're gonna take.
Yeah.
But Prajay, I wanna know, as a parent, you were telling me now about how your son talks about your chisco.
Tell us, what does he say?
Miss, please.
He says, what is? Said it's glowing. And then he goes, yeah, glow. Like I'm Glorilla or something.
Glorilla. Okay, Big Glow. So, as a parent, do you think you're starting to set some expectations for your own children?
I pour out as much as I possibly can onto my kids. I try and give them as much access as I possibly can afford. From the school that they go to the opportunities that I give them. If I see an interest, like a genuine interest, like my kid, one of my kids is very good at Legos. Like he will see something and he will go home and he'll build it out of the Legos using different pieces that will make
Call them master builders. Lego, they call them master builders.
You know, so I enrolled him when he was 5 years old. The youngest you can get into young engineers, and he's doing that, and he's doing. So I'll give them as much access as possible because I want them to have that's self-sustaining, and I want them to be good.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm also working very hard for myself as well to make sure that they don't feel the need to come to me and to have to support me.
True.
So because I think at a certain point I want there to be a break in that cycle. So when they do give me £1 million, it's because they want to, and not because I need it. I've got 2 in the bank, and they're gonna give me 1 more or whatever it is, not because they have to. There's a need. So I work very hard to try and break the cycle for myself, and for them as well to be good.
And then do you kind of, besides the benefits of enriching, the children and getting them into a direction where they can see their future clearer, do you see any other benefits to supporting your family financially? And would you feel like there are any drawbacks?
There's always benefit in helping people. You give, man, it'll only come back to you. I believe that giving is a seed that you sow that'll come back
multitude,
to you, however manyfold it is. So I never scoff at the opportunity to give, but I've also had to switch, right, my mind in that I can't give you out of my lack. Understand? I need to be okay for me to give to you. Like if I've got $100 left, you need $100. You're on zero. I give you my $100. I've just transferred the problem onto me. You need to give out of your abundance. You can't pour from an empty cup. It gets tricky.
Just one point on that is that when you like that giving your last, is that your broke and my broke may not be the same. I kind of grew up thinking that when someone says they broke, we both mean like we have nothing. And then through one situation, I realized that my broke is like, sure, I have to dip into overdraft kind of vibes, right? And your broke is no, I still have my 10,000 or whatever.
Bills are paid. I just don't have spending money.
You know what I mean? And when with those kind of decisions, that was a very tough one for me, where I had to like literally sit with myself and say, I can't assume that I'm on the same level as this person. I've got to make my own, like through my own lines, basically.
Your own lines, yeah.
Okay, so this next one gets a little bit deep because I feel like the fact that the generations have changed in such a quick amount of time since 1976. Now we have to look after our families. I don't really have to, I'm lucky enough to be born from someone who found their success during apartheid and carried it throughout, right at the end of apartheid and became successful. So I don't have to send as much money. I feel like on the other hand, you guys slightly older than me in that generation have had to now focus on, giving back to the family. Do you guys think there's a sense of unfairness that comes with taking that focus away from creating generational wealth and looking forward? Or do you see the fairness in having to start by looking back before going forward? Because I feel like I have a bit of an easier journey than you guys.
You see, the word fair and unfair kind of plays.
And it makes you feel like maybe victimization.
Yeah, it's almost like now I'm putting myself in this place where I'm questioning, is it fair or unfair on me? Whereas I think I also have to be fair to my parents. The fact that they built a great life for us, man. Like my brothers and I always sit and chat, and like we take it as the kids. You have conversations about what can we do to make sure that, again, longevity, our parents are good as they grow older. How do we give back? And if I think about something that I once had a conversation with my dad just about like that whole generational wealth and whatever. And the background to that, I told you, like my parents both didn't finish school because they come from that apartheid era, you know, they went to school then. So matric wasn't really a thing. And when we spoke about that building on, my dad said to us that his job is only to take it one step further for us. And after that, he's good. So my dad lost his dad at the age of 13, I think. So he didn't grow up with a dad. Yeah, I am sitting here today. I'm 34. My dad is still here. Yeah. So he's one up to his dad. He's still present. His dad took him up until I think it was like standard 8, somewhere there. He took me and gave me 1 degree. He said, "You've got 1 degree. That's it.
Honors is yours.
It's you." Yeah, I paid honors with my first salary. Like more than 50% was going to my honors, guys. So my dad said 1 degree, that's it. So yeah, in all fairness, like my parents did really well, man. Like they did really well. But now it's on me to take it one step further.
Yeah.
So now maybe I need to pay for the honors when I have kids, you know? So yeah, in all fairness, like my parents did so well. And I'm just striving to try and make sure that as they grow and retire and stuff, I'm able to make sure that they sustain that life with my brothers, because it's on all three of us to make it happen.
Do you think it takes away anything from you creating that future generational wealth by looking back, you know, by correcting past financial mistakes? Is that taking anything away from the future wealth that you're trying to create in that balance?
It can. It really can if you don't set those boundaries, or you let the emotion, you know, direct your decision. And it's very tough, right? These people, like I always said, you know, as parents sacrificed a lot, and I can also relate. I had a similar situation where my dad had passed, right? But he still left the house to me. And I still had that thing where, okay, I've just bought my house. I'm trying to also build a life on this side. There's also that family home that you don't want to let go of. You know, and you're busy trying to build here, and you're also trying to keep the family home for whoever, for yourself, and you go back, family, whatever. And it started taking a toll, you know. And it's like, you know, what would your parents want? Parents wouldn't want you. My parents didn't sacrifice the last cent to send me to Dale, you know, so that I can now struggle keeping a bunch of bricks they built that so I can have a different kind of life.
Yeah.
Instead, which is when I sold it. You know, very tough. It wasn't. I had to get away from the emotional aspect of it. So with that house, I then paid for my MBA, which would have made them very proud instead. And even with people that are still here, I reckon you still need to. It does take away, but you need to be also strategic about it. It's just about striking a balance. Unless you're like, oh, and you earn like 45 million and both. but it does take away. No lies there.
It's managing your lifestyle. Now as like we grow and the brothers are now working and stuff, and we're like, okay, cool, let's go like to 4th Street in Parkhurst and try a restaurant, right? Yeah. But every single time we do that, my mom still walks in. She's like, sure, these people are eating out on a Wednesday. Huh? So they just come and sit and eat. Like, you know what I mean? And that's a lifestyle thing. So when I speak about like my experiences at home, my parents like set up a lifestyle for us. So like Fridays would be excited because it's going to be putu and prime meat and like a chakalaka of sorts. But the whole week would manage our lifestyle in terms of what was coming into the home and what was coming out. So I would never be able to even say, no, when I was 5 years old, when we ate this thing, I knew that there was problems in the house. No, because it was a standard practice.
For me, it's about how siblings come together to start to create generational wealth, not just as for themselves as individuals, but for the family unit as a whole. And so if I just, draw on some of our experiences, as I've mentioned, my brother and sister have both immigrated. But before they did, we decided to buy property together. So we would partner up with each other and go, let's purchase this property, rent it out and draw some gains out of that. And that worked amazingly for a while. And then COVID hit and sort of, things took an economic turn. So when my brother and sister left the country, here I was with a number of properties trying to manage it, but also trying to fill the gap in terms of the loss we were making on those properties. So it became more expensive to keep those properties. And, then letting go of it and moving on. So, while we try to build that generational wealth through holding onto property and making these types of investments, it's you have to balance just that affordability of it at the time, and making sure that you can still remain comfortable. I've subsequently let go of all of the properties, just because it got really tough for me to manage and the loss just became bigger and bigger. But, where I am today is in a very comfortable space because of the smart financial decisions that you have to make at a very specific point in time that's circumstantial.
Okay, so there's a clear discrepancy between generations, how those generations are handling their futures and their families. How do you guys envision breaking the cycle for future generations ahead of you? How does that look for you to break or transform, let me say, this cycle of supporting your family financially and giving back as opposed to going forward?
So just trying to break that cycle, which is very important, means that I must be good. I must work very hard. I must ensure that I'm busting my to try and, build financial capital for myself. Another problem that we've got is how the mentality we've got towards money, So teaching my kids as well about money very quickly. Financial education is a problem in South Africa. Even with wealthy people, it's a problem. You can find someone who's wealthy giving their kids a lot of money and then they can squander it. So if I can make sure that my kids, along with opportunities that I spoke about that I've given them, are financially astute, that's how we can break the cycle. And also setting them up well as well. Either whether it's me doing very well and I've got a loss to leave them, or there's a hack, right? Which is life insurance. You take out a policy, life insurance, and just make sure they give them with about or 10 bars or something. But you make sure that they are financially educated, And I think those are some of the things that you can do to try and break the cycle. Bust your butt, educate your kids, and try and leave them with something where they also don't have to start from scratch.
And then
My mission 100% is just to make sure that I build a runway of sorts. So I build the runway for the generations to come so that they can then take the runway and take it even further and build further with that. I'm learning that if I'm going to make a difference and break those cycles, I'm going to have to ask questions that I don't have the answers to. So I'm asking people about trust funds. I'm going to ask you about this. After this, I'm going to ask you about property because it's stuff that I'm like, those are the things that we have to have chats about. So yeah, that's it for me, making sure that I'm asking the tough questions, the ones that I know I don't know, so that I can break those cycles and make sure that by the time I'm out people have something to work with or more to work with than I initially did.
I see why you needed an aptitude test. Now you're building runways. Your engineer is for bucketing now. Come on. Yeah. And then Adisha?
Growing up in a household like I've mentioned earlier, there's a shared financial value that we created. And I think that's what's going to be really important for the future. It's about imparting that shared value onto generations to come and really getting them to understand what that means in terms of your personal growth and at the same time your family growth. So making sure there's balance between these two.
Now that you're post-MB, senior manager, everything is up, right? You're sitting with Primo in the library having interviews, Let's take it back a little bit. And how would you be then able to advise someone who is caught in that pre-MB situation that you were in, where you're starting your career and your family is looking at you for financial support?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to that young person out there who has to deal with the same?
It's a really tough thing to do, to choose yourself over the family dynamic sometimes. But I think it's so important to pursue your education. And I think John spoke about it earlier. The more we pour into ourselves, those rewards are reaped from our future generation. So yes, I think my advice would really be about pursuing your education, working really, really hard, in whatever job you find yourself in, whatever situation you find yourself in. Don't stop putting your heart and soul into it, because you never know that moment when it's going to change and if fate is going to change and something much better is going to come your way just because of how hard you worked, and someone's going to recognize you. And that's been my experience. Somebody recognized the talent within me, uprooted me and went, this is where you need to be. So I think it's important to ensure that continuous learning that brings about that growth. So yeah, don't give up, don't stop, just keep pushing.
Stay in school. Stay in school.
And this MBA and senior manager doesn't happen overnight. It's something it sounds amazing and it sounds lovely, but blood, sweat and tears really is. So keep at it.
My work ethic, man, like that has always been the one point
your
where I was like,
spokesperson.
yeah, I always used to you can try me on anything, but not my work ethic. And for me, I think that's been my differentiator. So I would be, not proudly so, but if people were starting to study for something a week before the time, I'd know that I need to start too, because I need to sit and process and go through this thing and make sure that I really understand it. So I would definitely give the advice that in spite of where you come from, what you do, everyone has stories. There's a lot of all of these different, the subjectivity in the room, you know what I mean? But the one thing that people can never question you on is how you show up in your work ethic. So make sure that you're spotless when it comes to that one.
Go on. Rajan, just to wrap it up.
Your first job, first income, pretend you earn a bit less, pay yourself first. Make sure that you are setting yourself up, help your family because they helped you.
Yeah. So you heard it here first. Stay in school, work hard, and say no. Set your boundaries financially. And just like that, I just want to say thank you so much to my big, important senior guests from Nedbank for sharing these perspectives on this really pressing issue. Thank you again for joining us on Youth X Conversations. If you are going through anything that you felt like has been brought up in this conversation, please feel free, drop it in the comments. If you have any advice that you want to give to anyone else, holler at us. I'm here. I'll reply. But otherwise, see you on the next one.